Hi everyone, so if you're new here, I'm Damaris and I created Moser Roch and I talk about everything vegan and eco-friendly. So today I wanted to talk about what we buy for our vegan Christmas. So all the vegan goodies that we buy for Christmas and some that I've sort of bought already. What I tend to do is in the months leading up to Christmas, I usually buy the odd bit here and there on our normal shopping, just so it's not one massive shop right before Christmas with everything, if you know what I mean. I feel like if we add a few different bits every week in the weeks leading up to Christmas, then it's not one huge cost that goes out on a big shop for everything that you want, really. Of course, I think people do generally spend a lot on Christmas food and most of the time it's wasted, which for me personally, I think that's just awful. So on the things that I know we will probably consume and nice little treats that we like to have at Christmas time, I will just sort of add them to my shopping leading up to Christmas. So at the moment I've got some liqueur, some non-alcoholic wine. What else have I got? And we've got some cheese in the freezer ready for Christmas as well. So it's just the way I like to do things, just sort of buying bits here and there and stashing them away kind of thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is cheese, and there are a lot of different vegan cheeses around. I think I'm going to concentrate on the sort of selection packs and what I've bought. So my absolute favourite vegan cheese is Vegusto. So that is perfect on crackers. I don't think it melts very well. It's more of a sandwich and cracker kind of cheese. It's made in Switzerland. I think the company have been going since the late 90s, something like that. And the cheese, I just can't even explain it to you. It tastes so good. It's got so much flavour. It's not anything like dairy, but it's really good. And it's quite sort of soft. So anyway, like I said before, I've bought a couple of those from, where did I get it? Green Bay supermarket. So I've stashed those in the freezer ready for leading up to Christmas, because these cheeses freeze really well. Not all of them do, so make sure, if you're thinking of doing that, make sure you check the packet and make sure it is freezable. So yeah, that's my absolute favourite one to start with. Another option for cheese, which you buy loose and not in a pack, is Tyne Cheese. Now this one I think is maybe a little bit more expensive than the Vegusto, but they come in, it's what they call raw cheese. So it's made from cashew nuts and it comes in the little round cardboard pots like you get if you buy dairy camembert. It's that kind of packaging. And the cheese is really beautiful, really nice. I personally bought it last year and there was one particular flavour that we didn't like. I think it was quite salty, and maybe sun-dried tomato or something like that, which usually would be my favourite flavour. But this particular one, even for us as a family that quite likes salty things, we thought this one was a little bit too salty. So I will just be completely honest about that now. The other flavours that we bought were amazing. I can't fault those at all. But those cheeses, Vegusto and Tyne Cheese, are on the pricier side. So if you're looking for a more affordable cheese set, there's a couple of choices. So Violife do a Christmas selection. I think it's 3 different flavours. So it's mature, cranberry, I want to say herb, something like that. And that was quite a good price from what I remember. want to say around £6 or £7 for this pack. And if you're a fan of Violife already, it's got that sort of rubbery Babybel texture. It's not my favourite cheese, I have to admit. Violife isn't my favourite. It's known for being very good for melting on pizza and that sort of thing. And yeah, lots of people rave about the Violife. So that is definitely a great option. Another one, which I believe they might have only just come out this year or last year. They're in very recent years. Applewood have brought out some vegan cheeses. So they've now expanded their range. I think they just started out with smoked, if I remember correctly. And they've now extended it. They've got Mexican and a couple of other flavours. And they've also released a pack that you can get. I think theirs was 4 by something like 150 grams, if I can remember. And that selection pack looks really good. I would say that their texture is actually quite similar to Violife. So if you like that sort of slightly rubbery texture in cheese, these two, either of those are good options. I'll leave the link for the Applewood as well, because you can buy that from the Vegan Kind supermarket. I did notice it was there, and as I'm filming this video, it wasn't out of stock or anything, so do check it out if you're interested in that one. Some other things that we tend to get in is chocolates. So because of quite a lot of vegan groups that I belong to, I know some vegans will put together their own vegan version of a roses or a celebration box, and they will buy packs of chocolates and put them into the box. I think that's really amazing. I personally just haven't got the time to sort of faff around with that, and I guess our family isn't that big that we would need a massive box of chocolates as such. But what I usually do is the most affordable option is go to Aldi. They've got a brand of chocolates which is called Moser Roch, I believe. Yeah, something like that. And they have chocolate creams, I think they're called, and they are accidentally vegan. I think they might actually state them as being vegan now, but they're like dark chocolate creams. So they've got strawberry in the centre, orange, violet, and I can't remember, rose I want to say is one of the other flavours. So the last few Christmases I have gone into Aldi, and they're only £1.49 per pack. So I've gone to Aldi and I've just picked up a couple of boxes of those, really cheap, affordable, and we have those kind of as a treat at Christmas time. I usually make, whenever I'm sort of passing our local Aldi, I'll pop in and get a few boxes. So I usually have quite a few available, and like I said, they're just really cheap, and it's a good selection box really. I can't remember how many's in the pack offhand. It's a box about, say, this size, maybe about 15 or something like that. So not a huge box, but a nice treat all the same. So that's what we usually do for chocolates. But my absolute favourite chocolates are Booja Booja. They are delicious. If you've never tried Booja Booja chocolates before, you're in for a treat because they are really good. But they are quite pricey, and they're what I would consider luxury chocolates, you know, so this is definitely another great option for Christmas time. You can get a selection box for I think maybe £17.99. I don't remember exactly how many is in the selection box, but they are really delicious chocolates. So if you have the money, it's well worth treating yourself to these. Another option, one of the smaller packs this is Vego. They do a lot of sort of chocolate bars, and these particular ones are called pralines. So they concentrate on sort of nuts. They've got hazelnuts and that sort of thing all through their products, and they are what I would say pretty close to dairy. They taste really good. I'm not quite sure what they've got in them to make them like that sort of creamy dairy chocolate, but they're pralines. They've got quite a small pack and they're individually wrapped, so they would make quite a nice gift as well, or just to sort of share with your family. And they're really good, really nice chocolate. So that is probably my third suggestion in the way of chocolates. Okay, so I won't talk about alcohol too much because I think you could probably go off on a tangent on this. Everyone has their preferred alcohol sort of thing. So I'll just briefly touch on what we would buy. So I like to make mulled wine. The mulled wine ready-made that you buy in the supermarket, they are usually vegan. So like the Tesco mulled wine, that's usually vegan anyway. However, if you wanted to make it yourself, like me, I tend to just look for a specific vegan red wine and just get a bottle of that in. This year I'm probably just going to use non-alcoholic wine because of having a baby and children. I think I'll probably just use that this year. And then you still get the full flavour but none of the alcohol sort of thing. Another thing that I do like to get at Christmas is liqueur. So Bailey's have their own version which is vegan. I think that's made with coconut milk. I think we tried that one last year. It was good, not that creamy, but then I suppose compared to dairy cream, sort of coconut cream is not going to be as creamy. Of course, if you're handy and you have the ingredients, you could make your own. In fact, I believe I just sort of concocted my own a couple of years ago just by mixing some oat cream with some spirit that I had in the house, some sweet spirit. I want to say it was something like hazelnut liqueur or something like that. I just mixed those two together and it tasted amazing. So honestly, you might not necessarily need to buy one. This year I've bought one from Tesco. I can't remember the brand offhand, I'll have to leave that here, but it was a vegan chocolate liqueur, so I'll be excited to try that one this year and see if it's more sort of creamy. But the other thing I was going to say as well is M&S usually have a couple of good vegan liqueurs. If you happen to have an M&S close to you, that's definitely a good place to have a look and see if you can find anything there. So I think at least last year they had a chocolate liqueur there for sure. So another thing that we like to get in, usually because of seeing family, so sort of party food. Tesco and probably a lot of the other supermarkets have frozen packets of like spring rolls and samosas, that sort of thing. So we really love to get those in. They're really brilliant to snack on when you've got family around and really cheap as well. So it's usually about £1 a pack or something, and you can just throw them in the oven and they're ready. Serve it with some crisps, hummus, whatever, and yeah, that's quite a good option for party food when you know you probably won't want to be cooking sort of thing. I know a lot of these things could be made yourself, and if you have the time, that's absolutely fine. I have 2 children, so trying to manage everything, keep the house clean, whatever, I'm generally looking for shortcuts and ways to make my life easier. So this is the things that I do to make my life easier. So another option, so we haven't talked about mains yet. Mains are can be quite difficult to find, to be fair. So like this year we would usually be looking for some kind of meat substitute. So Tofurky is what we had last year, which is like the fake turkey with sort of stuffing going through the middle, I believe. Yeah, stuffing going through the middle. And it was really good. My family generally prefer the fake meats rather than the Wellingtons and the nut roast and things like that. I could probably eat any of them, but it's just what my family tend to prefer. Like my son is a little bit fussy. He wouldn't entertain a Wellington, no way. And nut roast, I don't think he'd entertain that either. So we generally look for the fake meats. My favourite one that I had a couple of years ago now, maybe 3 years ago, on their website in the UK, they've stopped doing that. So their cheeses are only available in Green Bay Supermarket, which I think is London based. So you can only get their cheese from there, and sausages and maybe slices, things like that. Their roast, which I had a few years ago, like I said, had some of their cheese running through the middle of it, and it was beautiful. It was probably my absolute favourite one that I've ever tried since going vegan. But sadly, you just can't get that one in the UK, which is a real shame. But that was definitely my favourite, and probably my partner's favourite as well, I remember him saying. So nut roasts, I've noticed this year in the supermarkets, most of what they have is nut roast available for vegans. So Asda have got a nut roast and a cauliflower Wellington. I think we're going to try and find a fake meat of some sort, but if we can't get it, then we will settle on the cauliflower Wellington, because that does still sound nice. Tesco have a wicked turkey, which looks a little bit like the Tofurky, so that looks interesting. Definitely a good option. So Aldi have a turkey with stuffing in. I've seen somebody on one of the groups I'm in has shared that they've got turkey with stuffing. So I'm going to look out for that one. That one is probably going to be the one that we go for if we can get it, if it's available still. And Sainsbury's and Morrisons both have nut roasts available, so sort of fancy nut roasts, which do sound really good. I know some people are quite happy with nut roast as a main. We have some nut roast, which I've got in the back of the cupboard actually. I think it might be a Suma nut roast mix, which I just keep for emergencies. So if we're really stuck and we can't get anything for main, then we've still got nut roast, or we could just make our own, of course, if I have time for that. Morrisons also have a mushroom Wellington, so if you like that sort of thing, that is another main that you could get for Christmas. If you prefer to make things yourself, Bosh have a Wellington recipe which is very, very popular with vegans. So I will leave a link for that recipe as well, because I think that is useful to have the option to make something yourself if you have the time or energy, whatever. Another main that I have tried before, which I think we liked this one, but I haven't seen it this year, so I don't know if they have stopped doing it maybe. Oh, magpie. Is Redwood Celebration Roast. So they used to have like the fake meat, and then what came in the pack was some sausages, and they were wrapped in vegan bacon as well. That was a really great pack, you know, for a small family, but I haven't seen that one this year, so perhaps they don't make that one anymore, which is a shame. The last thing I wanted to talk about, this video is longer than I expected it to be. I guess once I start talking about food, I can't really stop. So the last category that I haven't really touched on is kind of desserts. So we prefer as a dessert like chocolate torte or something like that for Christmas Day. The rest of my family aren't particularly fussed on mince pies or Christmas pudding or Christmas cake, anything like that, I know you can get, there's several options for both of those things. I'm probably going to get some mince pies anyway, and I'm pretty sure members of my family would eat them if they were there, you know. So I'm going to get some probably from Asda or Tesco. But the actual dessert on Christmas Day, we like a chocolate torte, and in the past I've bought one from Ocado, but I think from what I remember you could only buy a few slices together. So if you were obviously feeding a lot more people, that's not going to work, but if there's just a couple of you, it's fine. The one that I've noticed this year, Asda have a chocolate and salted caramel tart, which sounds so good. So I've got that already coming, hopefully close to Christmas. So yeah, that one sounds really good. I just hope they don't tell me it's out of stock, because I might cry. So another option, yes, there is quite a lot of, in regards to Christmas puddings, there are actually quite a lot now which don't have any animal ingredients in, which is good, because that means it's slightly easier to find. So I think the one I had last year was a Tesco free from one, and it was really good. I have no complaints with that. I did enjoy it, and because nobody else in my family eats it, I got to eat it all to myself, which was even better. I don't think there's anything else that we really buy at Christmas time. So we make sure that we've got some nice treats in, but we also don't want to overindulge. So it's just being more mindful really, and try not to buy too much that's then going to be wasted. So generally we will have our normal shopping that we would usually have, and then just have those few extra bits for a couple of the days, so that it's not a huge cost and it's not a huge waste either. So we really do try not to overbuy and overconsume around the holidays. So yeah, that's all of the extras I would say that we do buy and make sure that we have. Let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular that you always make sure you buy each year, and I'll see you on the next one.